Enjoy furlough with fallow herd immunity. Neal guides novice stalker and professional ecologist Dr Cathy Mayne as she embarks on her DSC2.
Hunting is probably one of the most valuable, environmentally immersive activities you can do.
Plus, in a separate upload, we show how to deal with the green stuff when things go pop.
When you make a mistake, it's how you deal with that mistake.
Deep fishing the archive, we find another film under the sofa. This time Cai is catching and cooking Norwegian mountain trout. We have news, we have hunting YouTube, we have Hallo Charlie, and we have another shout out for the retail community with Bargain Hunter. Welcome to Fieldsports Britain. We film a lot of fallow stalking in the southeast of England. Here the wild population is strong thanks to a history of parkland adorning grand houses. Then somebody makes a bad marriage, or there's a war. They can't pay for the upkeep of the walls or the fences, and the animals find a hole and make a break for it. In Scotland, fallow are not so prevalent, but they are here. On the Ardnamurchan Peninsula there is a population of about 100 animals. The cold, wet environment limits body size and fecundity.
Any idea what the population is of fallow in Scotland?
No, Simon, that's a good question, and off the top of my head I can't answer it. I don't think it's big. I think the sika population probably exceeds the fallow population, and there are a number of areas that they're pretty much hefty too. So you find them around Dunkeld, you find them around on Mull, there's a small group here in Ardnamurchan. I think there's 1 or 2 other places in Scotland that there are free living populations, like down in Dumfries and Galloway. Certainly down about Lockerbie and that part of the world there are fallow, and then there's at least 5 locations where there's park populations in Scotland. For here, I mean, if you zoom in on him, David, for here, that's one of our better bucks. So they don't reach the size of fallow in the south at all. We have got 1 or 2 bucks slightly bigger than him, but that for his age is one of the better bucks.
And would you say that the sika is better adapted to this environment?
They certainly, yeah, I would say they are. I mean, they're more of a woodland deer. The fallow deer seem to rely on and need more access, and we watch them here. They need access to better grazing and more woodland cover. They do well here in the grasslands and deciduous woodlands. But anybody, if you've asked people that keep Japanese and Manchurian sika in parks in the south, they'll tell you the sika are fat when the red deer are thin. So the sika seem to be able to utilise the environment and get more out of it. Would you agree?
Successful machine then, aren't they, really?
Well, I mean, part of the reason I think Japanese sika have been public enemy number 1 isn't purely the fact that there is a potential for them to crossbreed with red deer. The way they graze and browse and the way their digestive system works makes them particularly troublesome to foresters.
This morning, consultant ecologist Dr Cathy Mayne joins Ardnamurchan deer managers Neal and Stevie. Cathy is relatively new to stalking, and this will be her first fallow deer. She admits that the way she views the world and deer has changed since she picked up a rifle.
Hunting is probably one of the most valuable, environmentally immersive activities you can do. And bar the actual pulling of the trigger, that hunting experience needs you to be in the environment. You are part of it, and it's only when you become immersed in it as a predator that you shed a lot of the stuff, the baggage that you carry around as a kind of modern human.
I like the fact that you can have it almost what we call precision mode, which the triggers breaks really light.
Neal wants to remove a couple of older does today, so Stevie is also carrying his blazer.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to pop 5 rounds in the belly here below the bolt. So what our plan is today, this is the sort of the time of year, it's ideal weather for us because the weather's improved and the fallow have come out into all the open ground. So we don't shoot a great number of fallow, as you know, because we don't have a big population of them. But what we're looking for here today is 2 or 3 of the older does. And any of the same rules that apply to the red deer, any of the smaller fawns or kids that don't look like they're going to be great this winter, we'll whip them away now. So what we're going to do is I'll move us into position, but you and Stevie will be doing the shooting. Okay, so let's head off.
The approach is slow and steady.
Bring yourself forward and get somewhere uncomfortable. She's feeding it. She's furthest to the right.
Once the doe is on its own, Cathy shoots.
Okay, through the front shoulders. We're ready to go now, David. A little bit back.
The sound of the shot and the reaction indicates the bullet placement is a little back on the animal.
Directly behind the buck now. She's walking in front of the buck.
A common one.
She's just bounced away. Wait a minute. Just wait. Ah, just wait a minute. You got her, David?
Yeah.
Number one's down.
Move to the right. Through.
She's see the one directly above the door is just shot, Stevie.
As the herd jockeys for position, Stevie takes a
The
second.
common door, second from the right.
Second from the bigger of the two.
Yep. She's now furthest away. Good man. Good man.
Both animals are down.
Everything else there I'm content to let go, okay? We shot an old doe from one group and another old doe from the other group, so we wanted both of them away. They're not productive, they haven't produced youngsters the last season. And it's time to let younger animals come to the fore.
Yes, I have.
Yep, you wanted to have popped that there. And what you've done is you've gone behind the shoulder.
Well, I was aiming for
And what you've happened is you've drifted back a bit. So it's the angle it's at, you've got an exit that way. But this is the animal that we were. This is well, these are small. I mean, there's a lot of people that are regular viewers of Fieldsports that will look at these and going, these fallow are tiny.
They're quite soft, those pads at the back, aren't they?
Well, that's because they're receptors, Cathy.
So that's the bit they feel with.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you look at deer, and you notice them do actually when they're trying to get their attention, one of the things you'll see the fallow do, and all deer do it, you'll see them go like that.
Yeah. And is that them feeling?
Because they feel vibration through their feet. And one of the most interesting things you find when people go deer stalking in woodlands, and you see people do it a lot, and it fascinates me, it's a really basic mistake. You'll see them creep to the edge of the trees and they see a deer they want to shoot and they go. And they stick their stick in the ground and it goes and everything turns and looks at them and they kind of go, damn, spotted. And it's the vibration that sent the message to them, hi, I'm over here. So when you're looking at yourself, I mean, it's the first fallow deer you've shot.
Yeah.
Your background's very much an ecology background, and particularly in the Scottish landscape. What's your feeling about them as a deer? I mean, what do you think?
They're an introduced species. So ideally they'd be put in the same box as sika, but they've been here a long time. Not here, but here in Britain a long time. And I guess that because they tend to have very static populations and territories, they stick to where they normally live. They don't have anything like the same threat. So they're non-native, but they're not invasive.
They're not colonising.
Non-native. They're not colonising new areas, and they're not, because they're on the limit of their population, they're not expanding. So they're not having to invade new territories. So from an invasive non-native point of view, no problem.
What I find interesting about the whole debate surrounding things like fallow and that is that if you try and connect it with things like feral goats, which are also in this same area on the edge of the woodland we're on here, there seems to be a lot less public disquiet, alarm or comment when you cull fallow that have been introduced to the area than you do when you cull goats that have been introduced to the area. But from a woodland point of view, I mean, your own opinion would be goats are a lot more harmful?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, goats are well known to eat pretty much anything they can get their teeth round. So, and goats are quite prolific breeders.
Yes.
2 kids every year, maybe more.
Yeah.
And they're well within their range. They're fairly robust. Their populations tend to increase rapidly. That's very different from fallow.
But as a method of control, sort of culling them, that you'd have no difficulty with
culling goats.
Yeah.
No.
I
think there is a public perception that goats are a precious part of our natural heritage, and I would disagree with that. I would say they're feral. They're a product, people used to keep them, they're good meat, and they do a huge amount of damage. So if they are present in an area, they certainly need to be very heavily managed.
Yeah, I would agree with that entirely.
Not allowed to get away in the way that, you don't need to manage fallow in the same way because they're not prolific reproducers.
And the idea is to try and get as much of that blood out as possible, as quickly as possible.
So what we're looking at here now, just to sort of take you to this moment, is that Cathy spent the last season with us, giving up her time, and actually she's been gilling and dragging deer off hillsides and shot a few deer with us, and now she's culled our first sika, our first fallow, our first red deer. So looming on the horizon now is DMQ level 2 assessment.
All
time.
you're effectively doing is separating that esophagus from the trachea as low down into the chest cavity as you can.
My right-hand man, Stevie, is going to take her through the process, and next time it'll be Cathy's turn.
One thing to remember is that every stalk is different. Wouldn't it be great, but dull, if every outing were textbook, surgically precise shot and a surgically precise gralloch in glorious conditions like today? But hunting is not like that, especially here in the Scottish Highlands, and we have to overcome challenges.
If you don't make mistakes, you won't learn how to work with them, how to deal with them. If you don't make that mistake, you'll never learn.
The thing is, it's very easy for anybody, no matter how experienced they are, to make a mistake. The difference is when you make a mistake is how you deal with that mistake, how you limit that contamination, and what you do with it there, by getting your hand over the top of that incisement on the stomach wall lining, closing it off and getting it outside the carcass. That way, that green contamination is on the outside of the animal, not on the inside.
I have a huge amount to learn about deer management, and my thinking on ecological things has actually changed as I've learned more about deer management and about deer as a species as well. So by starting to get involved in deer management and then actually doing some myself, it's definitely broadened my horizons, changed the picture a wee bit for me too. Having come from an agency role where you don't have a lot of interaction with people on the ground, my understanding and appreciation of people's cultural heritage and the social and economic side of what happens here on the ground has changed and evolved, and that means that I see what we need to be doing in terms of natural environment differently from what I did before.
That sounds healthy, Cathy.
I think it's very healthy. No problem.
You can watch the full gralloch in a separate film. In the meantime, let's hear from Cathy about the environmental challenges on the slopes behind us. This is part of an oakwood regeneration plot. The Scottish Government is threatening to impose its own cull plan because the current administration believes there is not enough oak. Cathy says there never will be.
Behind us we have great regeneration if you're looking for birch, but we're not looking for birch because we have this idea cast in stone of what we should have, and it should have oak. The only way to get oak in that woodland behind me is to plant it. And actually probably that's what they would have done in the past to create the oak woods that we see further up the loch and closer to the shore. The easy thing to do is to use existing legislation and the existing challenging social situation with deer and blame the deer. We have a report that suggests to us that the deer are solely responsible for the lack of oak in the wood behind me, when yes, there are a handful now present in there, but mostly when there was regeneration happening there were no deer at all, and the fact that it is mostly birch actually has got nothing to do with the deer. But because the legislation is available, because there is apparently an agenda to address hunting, large-scale private landowners, that seems to be a good enough reason to pursue the deer management group for a control agreement. Now we can go down that route and we can destroy a sporting model, a number of jobs, we can hammer the deer, reduce the numbers dramatically, and it will make virtually no difference to the outcome of the woodland. And that's the real tragedy. We could ruin lives and livelihoods and actually be no better off because we just get more birch.
The sad reality is that you don't always get what you wish for, and assumption is well, you know the rest. You can say to yourself, if I fence here, the acorns shall become oak trees, but it's not true. If bracken gets here first, no oak, and unless deer are planting the bracken, they are not to blame. Back at the larder, and the guys process the fallow. These animals may be aliens, but they are not really invasive, and in the numbers found here, they're not destructive. Sika, on the other hand, are a far trickier beast to get to grips with, and that's the species we will focus on next time. For more information about the Blaser R8 and the full range of Blaser optics, go to blaser.de. Thank you, Cathy, Neal and Stevie. And if, as we mentioned, you want to see that Gralic film, you can click on the link in the description below. It shows you the warts and all story of contamination, health checks, bleeding. Talking of warts and contamination and, well, the bleeding obvious, it's David on the Fieldsports Channel News Stump.
This is Fieldsports Channel News. Most game shooting will go ahead. A survey of more than 800 shoot owners, managers and gamekeepers across YouTube, Instagram, Twitter and Facebook by Fieldsports Channel finds that 61% of pheasant shoots are going to happen, 21% are mothballed and 18% are yet to make up their minds. It's the crucial time when shoots have to order birds for the season ahead, so decisions are being made now. The figures are in line with earlier surveys. The British Game Alliance asked 332 shoots about their intentions and 70% said they would go ahead. 3 weeks ago, Guns on Pegs asked 132 shoots and nearly 60% were still undecided. The wildfire season is underway in the UK and once again, gamekeepers are in the front line. This picture by Sam Mackenzie shows gamekeepers at a fire in Rossshire. This shows a wildfire sweeping over Kilpatrick Hills in West Dunbartonshire. And here's a helicopter picking up water from a local loch to put it out. The fires in 2018 and 2019 caused more damage than in the whole of the previous decade, according to data analysed by the Moorland Association. It looks like 2020 is going to add to that record, with rewilding providing fuel and ideological bans on the controlled burning of moorland, which creates fire breaks. Smoke from fires in the Pennines exposed around 5 million people to levels of pollution exceeding the recommended limits laid down by the World Health Organization. Shooting and rural organisations have slammed the RSPB for its consultation on Gamebird shooting. A joint letter signed by 9 organisations, including Basque Countryside Alliance and Moorland Association, predicts that the consultation will lead to the RSPB calling for the licensing of all shooting in the UK. A spokesman for the organisation says the RSPB should recognise the positives that shooting provides to conservation and the economy, and accuse the charity of ignoring numerous international environmental treaties and laws. He added that the industry adds £2 billion to the British economy each year and delivers nearly 2 million hectares of land managed for conservation. Natural England has issued licences for taking peregrine falcons from the wild for falconry, and it's angered the RSPB. Falconers have captured 6 raptors and the birds' rights group doesn't like it. Falconry is growing in popularity. This clip from a film about partridge hunting with a peregrine crossed jur is from the Falconry and Me channel, and it's just hit 60,000 subscribers on YouTube. Thanks to Per Holmseth for the story. Staying with the RSPB, and they're about to make money out of power stations, but at the cost of a nature reserve. Local Member of Parliament Alex Cunningham has said that he's personally disgusted with the RSPB's decision to rent out part of its Saltham Nature Reserve in Stockton for a gas power station. He wrote the comments after a planning application was issued to vary conditions for a power station at land to the east of Cowpen Bewley Road in Saltham. It would be built on land currently frequented by curlews and lapwings and 100 metres from a site of special scientific interest. While Justice wants to set up a fund to persuade police to pursue wildlife crime. BBC TV presenter Chris Packham's group says the money could speed up investigations, specifically those related to dead birds of prey. The group says police forces have had their budgets slashed, so it's up to donors to his charity and members of organisations including Basque and the Moorland Association to foot the bill. A Wild Justice statement says that pro-shooting groups should put their money where their mouths are. Shoots are under attack despite the coronavirus lockdown because the general public has taken to the countryside. The Belfield shoot in Cheshire had building and machinery worth £30,000 destroyed by fire in a suspected arson attack. In another incident, High Seat was vandalised on the Potmore estate in the Borders, where the number of people accessing the estate's land has quadrupled. 2 dead badgers in 2 days have Derbyshire police puzzled. A spokesperson says that a carcass was found in the town of Alfreton, days after another was found in the same area hanging from a tree. The Derby Telegraph reports the first carcass had fractured limbs and looks like it had been shot. The second badger was decomposed, so the cause of death is not known. The Guardian newspaper is complaining about the Football Association's pest control. The FA has had birds killed to protect its football pitches. According to the newspaper, pest controllers shot 60 grey-lag geese at the England team's training facility in Staffordshire. The paper quotes the FA saying the pest control is to preserve safety because the birds leave large amounts of poo in public areas, meaning people could slip or catch harmful parasites. A farmer in North Wales trying to get food to shops is being abused by vegans. Gareth Wyn-Jones, who runs a farm in the picturesque North Walian village of Ardnamurchan, has been called a Nazi slave owner. The 52-year-old father of 3 had the family farm for 370 years. He grows carrots, broccoli, rocket, beef, eggs, chicken, ducks, turkey and honey. He believes that the praise farmers have had during the coronavirus lockdown has annoyed vegans.
When there was shortages in the supermarkets, they were for milk and eggs, toilet paper as well. We've got nothing to do with that, but you know, the staples. And I think, you know, it does show you people in their DNA want to eat meat, they want to drink milk, and they want to eat eggs, you know, cheese, whatever it is. That's the majority of people. And we have to respect that vegans have that choice not to eat these things, and whatever their beliefs are, you know, we have to respect it, but we can't have them preaching and threatening and bullying people online. It's not fair.
Women from the British shooting team have released a charity fundraising video. Following a challenge from the British rowing squad, it hopes to raise money for health charities via the #Don'tRush challenge. We are sorry to report the death of Great Britain shooting team head coach Kevin Gill. One of the country's top trap shooters, Kevin was behind many of GB's recent successes in international shooting. He is pictured here in the run-up to the 2016 Rio Olympics. He represented Great Britain at the 1992 and 1996 Olympics and won a gold medal in the trap pairs with Ian Peel and a silver medal in the individual trap at the 1990 Commonwealth Games.
It's what I just love competition day, the buzz of it, and it doesn't always go to plan, don't get me wrong, but I do love, you know, competition day. When I wake up in the morning, it feels fantastic. It feels, you know, I just want Great Britain to win, that's the thing. I couldn't really see myself coaching another country because it is about Great Britain, definitely. I love to see the Union Jack on the centre peg. Yeah.
Apocalyptic animal cultists say they are marking fast food restaurants for death. It's the animal rights lobby's first attempt to link the coronavirus with the meat industry. A group calling itself Animal Rebellion spread hazardous safety tape around several McDonald's in London and put signs on the window saying hazardous animal products were inside. The group suggested meat was somehow linked to the coronavirus pandemic and called for an end to animal farming. Meanwhile, animal rights activist Carrie Symonds, also UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson's pregnant fiancée, has signed a petition calling for an end to wet markets globally. More than 200 wildlife groups worldwide have urged countries to shut down wild animal markets, including one in China where coronavirus may have started, with many going further and calling for an end to all wild meat sales. In the European Parliament, a coalition of environmental groups tried to amend new coronavirus legislation to end the trade in wild animal meat in Europe, but lost the vote. 449 MEPs to 186. Thanks to Richard Walton for that story. New Zealand's traditional May duck shoot may be a casualty of the coronavirus pandemic. It falls under the umbrella of hunting, which has been banned by the government in Wellington, even though hunters say they will restrict how far they travel and who they travel with in order to go hunting. Meanwhile, the New Zealand Pig Hunting Association says hunting is a low-risk activity for the spread of coronavirus and proposes contingencies to reduce the risk further, including only hunting near where they live and only with their usual group. New Zealand's Game Animal Council called on people to respect the lockdown. Americans are campaigning for their right to fish. They say that going out with a gun and a rod should not be banned under coronavirus lockdown measures. In this film on Keeper Action News, anglers at a marina in Washington state drive their boats in contravention of local measures to control the spread of the disease. The turkey hunting season is underway in many US states, and so far there have only been a few local bans on hunting. And finally, an animal lover in the USA called Joanne Marie found a stray dog in her backyard. She posted this on Facebook. No collars or tags, she writes. He was pretty standoffish and a little aggressive. He's pretty calm now, but he's not enjoying his bath. It's a coyote. You are now up to date with Fieldsports Channel News. Stalking the stories, fishing for facts.
Thank you, David. And you can see more news on our website. Click on the link in the description below. Next up, let's have a look at what you lot have been up to. It is Hallo Charlie.
Hello Charlie, just sorting out some pigeon decoys for when we can go back out again.
Hello Charlie, Colin Johnson here. Got my Fieldsports Nation goodie box. Thanks very much. All the best. Keep up the good work.
Hello Charlie. So, luckily enough we've got a farm, so I've just been doing a bit of target practice with my catapult.
Hello Charlie, this is Michael from Germany again. Thank Lord our government decided that hunting is essential and necessary, so we are allowed to go out in the woods, and I finished just getting out salt blocks. Most important things first, we are healthy. I hope you all are healthy and safe. Stay home and we will manage this catastrophe and get back to business sooner or later. Stay safe, my friends.
That's it. Please send me your Hallo Charlies via Facebook, YouTube, Dropbox or email charlie@fieldsportschannel.tv. Thank you for those. Please keep them coming. And thank you particularly to Michael Sommer for the German one for telling us about what's going on in Germany. Please let us know what's going on with you. Now, the best deals in the country, it is Bargain Hunter. Some of the bigger online shops are going for clearance sales. Bushware has one going on with up to 50% off some items. Jack Pike Shop is offering heavily discounted, discontinued Jack Pike items, and you can have another 10% off thanks to us. Use the discount code FSPORT10 at the checkout stage to receive another 10% discount on any item purchased online at Jack Pike Shop only. Need a read to see you through? The excellent Hunt Mag, which offers international stories with a strong UK angle, is available with a special Fieldsports Channel discount code. Use FCTV10 to knock 10% off the cover price on checkout. And if you're after a classy new rifle scope, Ian Hodge has a special offer this week for the Zeiss Conquest V4 3-12x56. Normally £965, it's now £574 with limited stock. Find out more at fchannel/bargain hunter. Please support them as much as you can. We do want these guys to stay in business. Now, Kai went to Norway quite a while ago with his mate Trigger, and they were after reindeer, but they also took their fishing rods. The reindeer migration is one of those wildlife wonders of the world. Kai is one of those hunters lucky enough to have experienced it, thanks to his Norwegian friend Trigger and brothers Ole and Inge.
These reindeers are migrating all the time, always against the wind. That's their system of surviving. They always seems to follow the same tracks as they've done for thousands of years. As forefathers used to use for trapping them. We now are sitting in such a position near one of those tracks, and we're watching 360 degrees around, good view. So we will see if they're arriving and can make us ready in good time to take one if there's one that we can shoot off the group.
We edited and published Cai's adventures in late 2015 and thought we'd included all of his hunting and cooking exploits, including local speciality reindeer testicles.
Taste of pure nature.
He reminded us last week that one meal slipped through the net. Trout caught in the mountain lakes below the cabin.
Now the stew's cooking quite nicely in there. I spent about an hour or so having a nice fish just in that lake just down there. We're just going to be spinning today. I'm not a big fisherman, I used to be, but I have not done it in a long time. So it's quite nice to just be able to just chill out for the evening in paradise, throw the spinner in the water and see what we can get. Now the fish in here is brown trout, so that's what we're going for, which will make delicious eating for breakfast tomorrow, or maybe even dinner. So let's see if we can get anything. Oh, I've got one. That's not too bad. I've been here for literally 5 minutes, probably my third cast, and already we've got a decent sized brown trout for the table. I grew up in North Wales to the age of about 8. I still consider myself very much Welsh. And I remember taking up fishing when I was very, very young, and my dad used to take me out and we used to go on the floats. Not much fly fishing back then for me, but it was mainly on the float fishing. But I absolutely loved it, and that's what kind of got me into wild food when I caught my first eel, actually. So coming back to doing a bit of brown trout fishing is quite fitting for me in an area like this. Yep, we've got another one very close. Come on. It's a nice size one. Another very nice sized trout. This is amazing. Been here about 10-15 minutes. We've got 3. One more and we've got 1 each. Beautiful fish, beautiful colours. Could be excellent eating on the barbecue tomorrow evening.
The Welsh wizard hasn't lost his fishing mojo, and in no time at all there's plenty to feed the hungry hunters.
The fire's going right now. We're going to put butter, lemon, good seasoning, wrap it in foil and put the fish on the fire. It's that easy. So first, we left the fish intact. We've gutted the fish, we've cleaned them out, so there's a nice clean cavity there. And all I'm going to do is going to start slicing some of these lemons now. And I've got some slices of butter here. Good quality butter inside the cavity, and this will help keep it moist in the middle as well as give it a good rich flavour. Some salt and some pepper and some basil, or in Norway's basilicum. Is that correct?
Perfect.
Good, good, good. In the cavity and on the outside. And that's one done. Now I've got some foil. Now these are ready for the fire. We're just going to go down now and stick them on the barbecue. Isn't this lovely? Out in the middle of nowhere with a fish that we caught yesterday using the spinners. Lovely, lovely, lovely brown trout, and literally simple recipe just with butter, lemon, good seasoning, a little bit of basil that I had in the cupboards. We're going to stick it on the fire and cook it slowly now for, well, say slowly, cook it for about 5 minutes around there. Now I've just raided the cabin, got some stir-fried vegetables we're going to use with the trout. There we go. Looks like that's almost pretty much done. You can see the eye's gone white, which is a good indication. Looks pretty good to me.
Delicious. Smells good as well.
Yes.
For the rest of Cai's reindeer hunting films, look for the link in the description below. There are 2 different hunts, one of which has had more than 3.5 million views. And there's one explaining how to cut down and pack whole reindeer carcass into a backpack. Can you believe that was 5 years ago? Thank you, Cai, and thank you, Trigger. I can't imagine what we'll be unearthing in the next few weeks. Now, from Scandinavia to the wider world of hunting and shooting on YouTube, it is Hunting YouTube. This is Hunting YouTube, which aims to show the best hunting and shooting videos that YouTube has to offer. Love Island's Ollie Williams is back with another hunting film. Here are some of his favourite clips from recent years, including game shooting in the UK, pest control from a helicopter in New Zealand, and conservation projects in Mozambique. Peter Jones from County Deer Stalking has put up a popular and topical film. He's out after a so-called murder buck on his ground in Hampshire. Brent Norbury Perrett's new film is a stonking 90 minutes capturing a year's deer stalking and fox shooting in the beautiful Galloway Hills of Scotland. It's a film he made in 2016 to release as a DVD, and it's good to see it on YouTube. From Ireland, Norman Mulvaney sends me a sika deerstalking film from the 2019-2020 season. He's out with clients on the hill and in woodland. DJ Decoys has put out 3 days decoying pinks, 2 of them on potato fields. They're using 24 Enforcer full-bodied pinkfoot decoys along with 24 Enforcer pinkfoot windsocks. We have interviewed Ben Harvey in the past. He is a 1980s egg collector who has become an asset to conservation, but who is still vilified by the birds' rights community. We compared him to Chris Packham, a 1970s egg collector who is now part of that birds' rights community. Here is Ben's story in film. Many people are polishing their guns during lockdown. That, of course, is not a euphemism. Lloyd Patterson and Johnny Carter from the Gun Shop Botley discuss practical tips. And finally, Charles Wheeler has an interesting story. He was kennel huntsman for the Duke of Beaufort's hunt for 16 years and is now in a Category 5 Typhoon Cyclone Harold locked down running a marlin fishing operation out of the South Pacific island of Vanuatu. Here is a film he made in 2018. That's it for this week. I've put all these films into a playlist for you. Click on the eye symbol top right or check this film's description if you have a YouTube film or a podcast channel you would like us to pop into the weekly top 8. If you're starting your own YouTube channel at this time of corona stress, email me the link, charlie@fieldsportschannel.tv. A good list there. Now, before we go, there's a question about racing pigeons from last week's show, whether or not they're legal to shoot. Well, the National Gamekeepers Organisation says they are actually not legal to shoot. They're covered by Section 1 of the Theft Act 1969 and by Section 1 of the Criminal Damage Act 1971. Well, if you didn't know, now you know. That's it for this week. If you haven't done so already, please pop over to our website, fieldsportschannel.tv. You can click to like us there on Facebook and on Instagram. You can follow us on Twitter, subscribe to us on YouTube, and of course, pop your email address into our register page, and we'll contact you about the show. Fieldsports Britain, it's out 7 PM UK time every Wednesday. And this has been Fieldsports Britain. It can't be long now before we're back hunting, shooting and fishing. I'll see you next week. Goodbye.